Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Ever feel like just one lucky break could change your whole life?
Yeah.
That's what The Winner is all about.
Hmm.
It's a psychological thriller by C.J. Parsons, and we are diving deep into its world of instant fame, but also the hidden costs. Make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss the rest of this deep dive. You can find a link to the book down in the description below. So this book follows Heather Davies. She's a teacher who feels stuck.
Right.
And then she just stumbles into this wild contest called Triple F Fame, Fortune Followers. Think like instant influencer stardom, but with some seriously dark twists.
Yeah. What's really clever is how Parsons sets it all up, I think. Like, Heather's life before the contest is so normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost painfully relatable. That small, flat, the demanding job, you really feel her need for something more.
Right, you totally get why that contest, with its promise of escaping the daily grind,
Mm-hmm.
it would just totally hook her in. But I was really struck by how the excerpts show the shift in how people treat her. It's not just the mansion or the money or anything like that. It's this sudden, like, reverence, almost as if she's not even human anymore.
That's such a good point. It really highlights how the book explores how fame distorts relationships. People start interacting with the idea of Heather, the winner,
Right.
not the person she was before. That disconnect is where things get unsettling.
Totally. And then there's Noah Foster, the charming face of Triple F, all smiles, perfect hair. But even in those early excerpts, there's this hint of something calculated underneath. Like, is he actually being supportive? Or is he just playing a role?
Well, I think Parsons leaves that open to the reader on purpose. We see Noah through Heather's eyes at
Yeah.
first. She's totally starstruck, so we end up questioning his motives right along with her. That ambiguity is what makes it so suspenseful.
Okay, but this is where it gets interesting. Remember the part where Heather meets Veronica Schulman, Eric's mom?
Mm-hmm.
She gives this whole different perspective on fame, talking about the sacrifices she made.
Right.
It's almost like a warning
Yeah.
that Heather just completely ignores.
That conversation is so important. It foreshadows that darker side of fame, how it can take more than you're willing to give, and the fact that Heather just dismisses Veronica's concerns.
Yeah.
Well, it shows how blinded she is by her own wants. It's like she can only see the good stuff, not, the potential for bad stuff.
Right. It's like she thinks she'll be different, that all the bad stuff won't happen to her. And then, of course, there's the mystery of that online troll, the one who starts targeting all the contestants. Remember those early messages Heather finds?
Oh, yeah.
They're so creepy. But at that point, she doesn't even realize how malicious it all really is.
Yeah, it's unsettling how Parsons shows Heather's naivete, especially in those early encounters with the troll. She just brushes it off as nothing. She doesn't realize the level of intrusion and manipulation she's facing. It's a really good point about the dangers of underestimating the dark side of the internet.
Absolutely. And that brings us to the Winner's Circle support group.
Hmm.
These excerpts are like peeking behind the curtain of fame. We meet all these characters, like Jim Munson, who completely cracked under all the pressure. He claims that someone drugged him.
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder, right? Is that the truth? Is it denial? Or is it just the paranoia that fame causes?
Jim's story is a good example of how fame can make existing problems even worse. It makes you think about the toll it takes on you mentally, the constant scrutiny. It can push people to their breaking point. And then there's Duncan Caldwell, the founder of Triple F. He's another enigma.
He's so different from Noah, right? Like, Duncan's described as this quiet observer, almost like he's detached from all the chaos he created. It makes you wonder, what are his motivations? Is he actually fascinated by fame? Or is there something darker at play?
The book keeps you guessing about that, on purpose, I think. Duncan's parts are short, and he chooses his words carefully. It's hard to figure out his true intentions. It keeps us guessing, just like Heather.
Totally. And then, bam, there's that huge reveal when Heather finds that missing assessment file. And she realizes that Elliot, her therapist, was the one who chose her for the contest.
Whoa.
Talk about a plot twist. Suddenly, it feels like the whole contest is rigged, and you start questioning everything, like how much of her success was actually planned? What else are they hiding from us?
That's such a smart move by Parsons. That changes everything about who has the power. You start to wonder if Heather even has any control. And then we're left wondering who is really in charge. And then the paranoia gets even worse when Heather finds that email, the one from Annalise's celeb mail.
Oh yeah, that part was creepy. It wasn't just what the email said. It was the fact that someone was watching her every move, like manipulating things behind the scenes. It really speaks to those themes of surveillance and control. in this world that's obsessed with online personas.
Exactly. And the way Parsons ties this back to the troll's harassment is really clever. We see how easily someone can twist information online and then use it against you. Especially if you're famous, it makes me think about who you can really trust online. Especially since the truth can be changed so easily.
That's so true. It makes you think about our own lives online and how much we try to control our image. But in the winter, that control is just an illusion. And it all comes crashing down in that scary scene where Heather is attacked by that mob. It's like all those anxieties about online manipulation and mob mentality all come to life.
That scene is so intense, it shows you just how dangerous misinformation can be and how fast online outrage can spread. And what's even more disturbing is that the attack was planned. The troll set the whole thing up. They used Heather's past problems with addiction against her to turn everyone against her.
It's terrifying to think how vulnerable we are to that kind of manipulation, especially when someone knows our weaknesses. It makes Heather's decision to quit oxycodone all at once even more powerful.
Right.
She's refusing to be controlled by her addiction or the people manipulating her.
That's a turning point for Heather, for sure. It shows her strength and determination to take back control of her life. It's like she's finally breaking free from what everyone expects her to be. She's choosing her own way.
It's such a raw and real portrayal of struggling for control, both inside and out. And this sets up the final clash between Heather and Duncan, which is just filled with tension and those high stakes.
That scene is a battle of ideas. You have Heather, who represents authenticity and truth, and she clashes with Dunker, who embodies all that manipulative power of the Triple F contest. It's like two opposite forces, each trying to control the future of the contest, and, in a way, the future of fame itself.
It's really interesting because in this confrontation, Duncan offers Heather a deal. He wants her to take over Noah's spot, to become the new face of Triple F, with all that power and influence to shape how people see things. It's a pretty tempting offer, especially after everything she's been through.
It's like he's dangling the biggest reward in front of her, the chance to be in charge, to control the game that's been using her.
Yeah, but I was really struck by how hesitant Heather is. She's drawn to the power, for sure.
Of course.
But there's this conflict inside her, too.
That's what makes that moment so compelling, right? She sees the appeal of all that power, but she also understands what it'll cost her. She's seen firsthand how the contest destroys relationships, how it makes people paranoid and takes advantage of their weaknesses. It makes you think, is it even possible to have that much power without it corrupting you?
That's what the whole book is about, right? And it's something we all struggle with, in a way. Our relationship with fame and influence. We all want to be noticed, to be heard. But what are we willing to give up for that?
Exactly. And Parsons doesn't make it easy for us to decide. Heather's decision reflects her own values and experiences, but it also speaks to something bigger, like a struggle we all face as a society. Are we willing to sacrifice who we really are just to be famous? Can we resist the temptation of power and control when the world seems to reward those who want it most?
It's some really deep stuff, but the book handles it so well. Speaking of deep stuff, those parts in the Winner's Circle support group are just heartbreaking. Seeing all those characters struggling with the aftermath of fame, the isolation, the pressure, the fear of losing it all.
Those scenes are so powerful. They show you what fame really costs you, you know? We see characters like Nima, who's just desperate for her followers to like her, and Bob the Builder, who just wants his old, simple life back. Their stories show that even when you're successful, you can still feel empty inside.
And then there's Annalise. Her story is just devastating. She seems like the one who's hurt the most by all the pressure of fame, and her downward spiral is a reminder of how easily it can consume you.
Annalise's story is like a warning about what happens when you only look for validation from other people. It shows how fame can make your problems even worse, leading to self-destructive behavior and losing yourself completely. Her story adds this layer of tragedy to the book. It reminds us that not everyone can handle the pressure of the spotlight.
Right? It makes you think of the contest itself. What role does it play in all this? Is it just a platform, or does it actually make the contestants' struggles worse?
That's the question, isn't it? The book suggests that the Triple F contest, with all its focus on competition and image, actually creates an environment that makes people insecure and vulnerable. It's like being constantly watched, the need to always have more followers, the pressure to look perfect all the time. All of that adds to the mental strain we see in the characters.
It's like the contest itself is designed to push people until they break. And then there's Elliot, Heather's therapist, who also, we find out, screened her for the contest. He's such a complex character.
Mm.
He walks this line between being an observer and a participant.
Yeah, Elliot really represents all the ethical complications of the story. He genuinely cares about the contestants, but he's also part of the system that's exploiting them. It makes you think, right, about professional boundaries, consent, and the responsibility we have to protect people we're supposed to be helping.
Right. And that scene where Heather confronts him about his role in the contest, it's so intense. It's like she's finally seeing everything, all the manipulation and control.
That confrontation changes things for both of them. Heather starts to understand how deep the deception goes, and Elliot has to face what he's done. It's a key moment that shows the tension between ambition, doing what's right, and personal responsibility.
And there's no easy solution. Their confrontation leaves you with more questions than answers. It shows how messy it can be to navigate those kinds of situations. But something that stood out to me was how Parsons uses the contest to criticize our obsession with fame as a society.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about these characters. It's about how power and influence shape our culture. It's about how we care more about image than substance, how we crave attention and approval, and how easily we're manipulated by people who understand those cravings.
It's a really important message, especially now with social media and everything. Everyone's trying to get more followers and likes. The book is a warning. It reminds us that being popular doesn't mean you're valuable, and how important it is to think critically in a world full of fake images.
And it reminds us that wanting to be famous can cost you a lot. You might have to make sacrifices that leave you feeling empty and unhappy. The book challenges us to think about what really matters in life and to look for validation from within, not from other people.
It's a powerful message, and it's woven into the whole story in a way that's both thought-provoking and entertaining.
Yeah.
Parsons manages to create a thriller while also giving us this insightful commentary on our obsession with fame and the dark side of online influence.
And that's what makes the book so good, I think. It combines suspense, psychology, and social commentary into something that's both fun to read and makes you think. It leaves you wondering about your own relationship with fame and what you'd do if you were in that situation.
Exactly. And remember that crazy moment when Heather finds out about Elliot's secret project,
Oh, yeah?
a book about the psychology of fame, using the contestants as his research subjects?
That adds another layer of ethical problems to the whole thing. On one hand, Elliot's research could be valuable. It could help us understand how fame affects people. But he's also using the contestants' problems for his own benefit. It makes you ask, how far is too far when you're trying to learn something?
It's a tough question,
Yeah.
and there's no simple answer. But it's a question we should be asking, especially now with all the ethical questions about technology and how personal data is being used.
And it connects back to the book's theme of control, right? Who's really in control in this situation? Is it Elliot gathering information and creating narratives? Is it the people running the contest manipulating things behind the scenes? Or is it the contestants themselves trying to survive in a system designed to use them?
That's the core of it, isn't it? The book blows the lines of who's really in control. It makes us see how we're all both manipulated and manipulators in a world where power is constantly changing hands.
And it suggests that real freedom comes from understanding that, from knowing what motivates us, and making choices that reflect our values, even when those choices are hard.
That's a powerful message to take away, one that stays with you after you finish the book.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the winner, the appeal of fame, the dark side of social media, all the ethical questions it raises, but I want to leave you with something to think about.
That's what these deep dives are all about, right? Not just understanding the story, but how it relates to us.
Exactly. So imagine you're Heather, and you're facing that final decision. Do you take Duncan's offer, become the face of Triple F, and potentially use that power for good, or do you walk away, knowing that the truth might never come out?
It's a choice that forces you to look at your own values. Would you be tempted by that kind of influence? Or would it cost you too much?
There's no easy answer. And I think that's why the book is so good. It doesn't tie everything up neatly. It leaves us thinking about those questions long after we're done reading.
And to me, that's what makes a story truly powerful. It starts a conversation, makes you question what you believe, and maybe even makes you look at yourself in a new way.
I couldn't have put it better myself. So what really resonated with you? What was your favorite part of the book? Tell us what you think down in the comments.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe and share it with anyone you think might like it.
Thanks for joining us on this journey into the winter. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep thinking critically.
Yeah, and you know what's interesting? In that scene where Heather finds out about Elliot's secret project, the book about the psychology of fame, it's like he adds another layer of ethical problems. On one hand, his research could be valuable. It could help us understand how fame affects people. But then again, he's also using the contestants and their problems for his own benefit. So it really begs the question, how far is too far when you're trying to learn something?
It's a tough question.
Yeah.
No simple answer, but it's definitely something we need to be thinking about, especially now with all the ethical concerns around technology and how our personal data is being used and all of that.
And you know what? It goes back to one of the book's main themes, control. Like, who is really in control? Is it Elliot gathering all this information, shaping the narrative? Or is it the contest organizers, pulling strings behind the scenes? Or maybe it's the contestants themselves, just trying to survive in a system that's designed to use them.
That's the heart of it all, isn't it? The book makes you question who's really calling the shots. It shows how we can be both manipulated and the manipulators in a world where power is always shifting.
And it suggests that maybe true freedom comes from recognizing these patterns, understanding our own motivations, and making choices that reflect our values, even if those choices are hard.
That's a powerful takeaway, and it stays with you even after you finish the book. So we've talked a lot about the winner, the appeal of fame, the dark side of social media, the ethical dilemmas it brings up. But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with something to think about.
That's what these deep dives are all about, right? Not just summarizing a book, but connecting it back to our own lives.
Exactly. Put yourself in Heather's shoes. You're faced with that final decision. Would you accept Duncan's offer, become the face of Triple F, maybe use all that influence for good, or would you walk away, knowing that the truth might stay hidden forever?
It's a tough choice, one that forces you to really examine your values.
Yeah,
Would that level of influence be too tempting? Or would the cost be too high?
there's no easy answer, and that's what makes the book so thought-provoking. It doesn't give us a neat and tidy ending. It leaves us wrestling with those questions long after we've finished reading.
And I think that's what makes a story truly impactful. It sparks a conversation, challenges your beliefs, maybe even changes how you see yourself.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So what about you? What part of the winner resonated with you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration of the winner. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those minds sharp.
It's interesting thinking about what we were just talking about with Elliot and his research. It adds this whole other layer of ethical stuff to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, on the one hand, his research could be super valuable, like helping us understand the psychology of fame. But then on the other hand, he's kind of exploiting the contestants, using their vulnerabilities for his own gain.
It's true. It's a tough one.
It really makes you question, like, how far is too far when it comes to research and knowledge?
Yeah, where do you draw the line? It's
Exactly.
a question we all need to be asking ourselves, especially now with all the concerns about data privacy and how technology is being used.
Right. And it all ties back to that idea of control, which is so central to the book.
Absolutely.
Like, who really has the control in this situation? Is it Elliot, with his research, shaping the narrative about these contestants? Or is it the people behind the contest, the organizers, pulling the strings? Or maybe it's the contestants themselves trying to navigate this crazy system.
It really makes you think. The book does a great job of blurring those lines.
It does.
Like we're all caught up in this web of control. Sometimes we're being manipulated, and sometimes we're the ones doing the manipulating.
It's true.
And it's constantly shifting.
And you know what I think? The book suggests that true freedom comes from recognizing that, from understanding how those dynamics work, and then making choices that align with our values, even when those choices are difficult.
That's such a powerful message.
It is.
And it really sticks with you long after you finish reading.
For sure.
So we've covered a lot of ground today, talking about the winner, the allure of fame, the dark side of social media, all those ethical questions it brings up. But I want to leave you with one final thought.
All right.
Imagine you're Heather. At the end of the book, you're faced with that final decision. Do you accept Duncan's offer, become the face of Triple F, potentially use your influence for good? Or do you walk away, knowing that the truth might never come to light?
It's a choice that really forces you to look inward and examine your own values.
It does.
Would you be tempted by that power? Or would the potential consequences be too much to bear?
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
Me neither.
And that's what makes the book so brilliant. It doesn't give us easy answers. It leaves us grappling with those questions.
It sparks a conversation.
It does.
And it challenges our assumptions.
Absolutely.
It even makes us question our own relationship with fame and influence.
It's a book that stays with you, so we want to hear from you. What resonated with you the most in The Winner? What was your favorite moment? Head down to the comment section and let us know.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like and subscribe and share it with anyone who you think might find it interesting.
Thanks for joining us today, and until next time, keep diving deep.